You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
What's up, the internet? It's in stores this week. Do you guys remember when McDonald's Happy Meal toys were like good? And now they're just like this sort of big-lipped version of Captain Marvel that doesn't do anything. I used to get McDonald's toys that like had the karate chopping action. But no. It's just Captain Marvel standing there. Dan's got McDonald's toys too. He's trying to show you. Let me bring him on. Is McDonald's Baby Grogu?
No, I bought him in a pack, but he's still cool.
Happy Meal toys. Who'd have thought?
If it was a Happy Meal toy, it would suck.
Wait. I found it. She has magic punching action, but you have to press this weird button on the back of her head. This is In Stores This Week, where we talk about new comics that are in stores this week. And none of them, as bad as some of them are as bad as this Happy Meal toy.
So, question. On the Captain Marvel, you push on the back of her head and her arm goes up and down.
Yes.
And that got approved.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm going to need the night off.
Her arm doesn't so much go up and down, it goes in and out.
It's even worse. Oh, man. Already. Oh, already crying.
Jeez. She's staying out of the range of blast off. Hi, everybody. Welcome to In Stores This Week.
This
That's
is the
Kyle.
Nountown.
That's Jay. And I'm going to be off the show soon.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, this is the Nountown of toys.
Oh,
God.
Oh.
Ed, I would put that on screen, but I don't want us to get in trouble, man. Oh, man. So we're here to talk about new books that are in stores this week, and we're already broken.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway.
Oh, goodness.
I go and I order a Happy Meal, and they're like, do you want the Marvel toy or the other one? And I go, what's the other one? They're like, the not Marvel. Like, well, I guess give me the Marvel.
Whom were you
Should've taken
buying the Happy Meal for?
Me. I need, so with my Tuesday schedule, I eat breakfast, and then I try to have a little snack before the shows start because I'm on the air for 2 straight hours. And then I have to go do other stuff after this, so I don't get to eat for a few hours.
Yeah.
So I try to have a little snack, and it's usually like a Happy Meal or a kid's meal from someplace. Because I don't need to eat 30 chicken nuggets, but I would if I could. So I intentionally don't order as much food as I want.
Okay.
Also, it's a good value.
And you get a toy.
That's why it's a good value. You get a toy, and now these days you get a full-size bottled water. So you get a bottle of water, chicken nuggets, and French fries, and you're good. Sometimes they give you apples if you don't want the French fries.
All right.
Let's start with Van Helsing Hell to Pay. As is customary, I will tell you, 32 pages of content is about the right number of pages of content for this book, I think.
And just so you guys know that Hell only sends 2 invoices. and then they put you right to collection. So you need to pay it because
Right.
they will
Hell does
jack
not
up your
offer.
credit.
Right. Hell does not offer net 30 terms.
No, they're very serious. Van Helsing, for some reason, is probably one of the most consistent books at Zenoscope. I mean, it's not great, but it's consistently decent and good art. I mean, it's some of the better art that Zenoscope has. But it's still Zenoscope, You still have kind of carbon copy characters that, it's like, oh, we brought in somebody that we haven't seen in a while, and it's like we didn't just see her last issue because it sure seems the same. Hell Child, Hell something or other. Not even sure her name, but it was entertaining for what it was. If you're a Zenoscope fan, get it. It's got decent colors. It's good colors, good art. The story moves along.
That's one of the first notes I had. This feels like it's very different art from some of the previous issues of this we've seen. I thought the art was really good in this. I actually really enjoyed this one. I thought the monster bats were cool. The story was good. It didn't feel as exposition-y as some of the other issues did, with the exposition boxes being freaking everywhere. But I thought the story was good. I dug the ogre-looking things that are in this, the other monsters. The third party in this, like you said, Hellchild, while you're like, didn't we just see her? She didn't feel like she was forced into this. It kind of felt like she was a good fit for this story. The absolute best part of this book, though, the absolute best part, no fish people in sight. I'll take vampires over fish people any day. So again, like Dan said, if you're a Zenoscope fan, you should definitely check this one out. Pick it up.
This book is the most readable Zenoscope book, which isn't saying a lot, but it's saying something. There aren't fish people, which is great. Every character in there is somewhat interesting, which is great. The plot seems to be cohesive, which is not always the case. And it feels like if you were going to read a one-shot, this is how you would present a one-shot in the Zenoscope universe. Story's complete. You don't have to have read a previous Van Helsing to understand what's happening, even if you don't know who Van Helsing is. And then at the same time, the art is solid. Like, there's nothing to dislike about this book, even though there's everything to dislike about the way this book gets presented sometimes. So I think this was a really solid effort, really solid read. In a week where some of the stuff is not as solid, this will end up being a pretty refreshing change of pace from someone who has been on my bad list for a while. So, Star Trek Day of Blood #1.
If you're a Star Trek fan, this is the book that a Star Trek fan would create. Because you're going to go and pull a character from just about every different iteration of Star Trek. From Voyager, from Deep Space Nine, from Next Generation, from the original cast, just from all over the place. Different villains and stuff. You're going to pull them all together. You're going to have a ton of references. This is fan service full on. Fan service set to kill. It's not even stun, it's to kill. And
I don't believe the Klingon Batleth has a stun setting there, Dan.
It does. You turn it around, you hit him with the handle.
Really?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
So yeah, it's from that point of view. If you're a Star Trek fan, you're gonna dig this. It's got Sela from the Romulans, who is Tasha Yar or Denise Crosby returned as. You've got both versions, Data and Lore. You've got Montgomery Scott from the original Enterprise. You know, you got Tom, the pilot from Voyager, the helmsman from Voyager. You know, you got both Voyager characters. You got Worf. You got Cisco. You got Ro Lauren, and just down the line, all the different characters you want are popping up in this. And you know, Beverly Crusher's in it. So it's a lot of fun from that point of view. But it's also a very slow book. Yeah, they did not go into warp drive on this. They're still on impulse engines. So maybe number 2 will pick up the pace, and that's about as geeky as I could do my review. So
I thought the art was fine, Castle, because John was asking in the comments. I don't remember seeing any Enterprise characters, but then again, I've watched 4 Star Trek shows and only one of them kind of all the way through. This was fine. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but it was cool seeing, most of the franchise represented in it. The story just, I don't know, it didn't grab me, but that's not to say that the story's bad at all. It's just, I'm not like a super Star Trek fan. I'm a very, very casual. Like if Star Trek is on TV, I'm not going to change the channel, you know? I have just like the basic knowledge. This is probably going to be a perfect book for Sean, who is a super fan, who knows the lore and all that. But for me, I found myself bored with it. I read the whole thing, but Dan, you're right. It's slow, but for some reason it was probably slower for me. But if you're a Star Trek fan, you should definitely pick this up, and you'll probably appreciate it a lot more than I did.
So if Dan and Sean are Trekkers who are into this kind of sci-fi, I would be a moon landing is a hoaxer. That's how this is not for me to begin with, right? It was cool seeing characters that I recognized from other books that we've read and from the little bit of Star Trek I've consumed over the years. I think I've probably watched less than Jay. In fact, the only reason I know that that's a Klingon Batleth is from The Big Bang Theory. And the only reason I know the names of the actors and some of the characters they play is from Comic-Con. So, like, but it was cool to see some of the people who I've met, who their characters are now in a book with other people I've met the actor of the character, like, it's like when you're friends, like you have a friend who's a girl and a friend who's a boy, and then they start dating, but you didn't know they knew each other. This is what that feels like in the Star Trek universe. It's like, oh, you're from that thing and you're from that. Why do you know each other? It didn't feel like the story really went anywhere, but it didn't really feel like it mattered. I mean, this is part 1 of a 5-part series. The fact that it felt like the story didn't go anywhere really was just, I was willing to kind of set it aside in favor of universe building. But the next issue certainly needs to start to move. Otherwise, that my friend's friend is my friend that got me through this book will start to wear off. All right, so this is the one that we have to put our faces over the cover of because it's in landscape mode. This book, listen, nouns, noun town, comic books are this shaped. If you go like this, you're a jackass. Even the plot of this book isn't my critique of this book. Turn the book the right direction. my critique of this book is that if I want to feel like Dan felt reading Survival Street, this is the book I'm going to read. This is too over the top, too political, too agenda-y. And it just doesn't work. Like, I think I know what the writer and the artist were trying to do. But like, even when you look at the solicitation, none of that is true here. And so as this book goes, I made it about 4 pages and was like, I'm done. The rest of this book took me probably 40 minutes to get through because I kept just having to get up and walk away.
Do you want me to go, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay. This feels like it was trying to be political and funny, and maybe to someone this would be. But I was thinking about it because I read the whole thing and I was really thinking about it. I was really trying to try to give this book a chance. And my mind kept going, if they took out the few curse words that were in here, the political part of it, and some of the violent acts that happen in this could be a children's book. And I mean a good one. I mean that in a good way. This could have been something that was adorable, but really it just misses the mark completely.
Turn around. Every now and then I get a comic I hate, and it's called Noun Town. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, no, I love Jay's line. If you just change everything about yourself, you might be good.
Speaking of which,
I'll go first on this one.
all right.
For the first time in 7 issues of Darkwing Duck, there is an appropriate amount of Launchpad McQuack. Which is to say, he's on every page, and it's the greatest comic book ever written. No, I really enjoyed this. I love the Justice Ducks in that whole in the cartoons thing. Like, that was one of my favorite stories. This is a Justice Duck story, but it's like the plot itself I've seen before. Right? There's Doctor Who and with Vincent Van Gogh and some of these other things. Like, there's some, you're in a museum telling a story about yourself. Right? But I love the fact that this is I have to answer Bronze Age Nerd's question. If Launchpad was in Noun Town, would it be good? No, because it would still be in landscape mode.
He would keep falling over.
It's true. No, so yeah, I loved this book. This was for the first time in about 4 or 5 issues of this book I've been like excited. So I really dug it.
As much as it's interesting that they brought the original creator of Gargoyles back to do the series, it doesn't necessarily feel right to me, where Amanda Dibert is just nailing this every week or every month. Her and Carlo Lura are making these things that feel like they're straight from the animated series, and and maybe it's because Gargoyles is a much more invested soap operatic type thing, and this is much more humorous and
this
silly.
feels episodic.
Yeah.
That feels like it's one long story.
Yeah. So whatever Amanda's doing, keep doing it. You're rocking it. Both you and Carlo. Just
figure I think this is the risque cover. I think this is about as risque as they're going to get.
The risque cover for Darkwing Duck is a plate of duck orange.
Oh.
No, the risque cover is from Launchpad McQuack's OnlyFans.
Jesus. Okay.
I real quick though, figure drawing. There is a killer cover with oh god, I'm gonna forget his name. Who did it? Drew Moss. That is Cyberduck. That's really cool. Just throwing that out there.
Cyberduck or Gizmo Duck?
Gizmo Duck, sorry.
Okay. Okay, so this book just continues to be the best cartoon follow-up comic of all time for me. We're 7 issues in, and it's still funny. Still like the art. It's got a great story, and above all that, it's got heart. I fall in love with this book more and more with every issue. I hope as long as the quality holds up, they never stop this book, because outside of like 007, this for me is one of the best book Dynamite does. I just, if you haven't tried this one yet, you got to give Darkwing Duck a try. It's been so good. That's all I got.
All right. We ready to move on? Does anybody else want to rant about this great book?
Once I get going.
Because,
I like this.
I will say, then I will go first.
Okay.
Walter Giovanni is genius on this. The art in this is just incredible. And I also want to shout out, I don't know who it was, but whoever lettered and did like the typography, it's perfect for Red Sonja. It is not a super strong Red Sonja story thus far, in my opinion. We've in recent history had stronger Red Sonja stories. Now I recognize that this is a first issue of, what's going to wind up being. This is a long run, right, Dan? This is like 8 or 10.
Yeah.
So it maybe doesn't have to move as fast as some of the previous stories that were only 4 or 6 issues had to. This issue has, if you include the San Diego variants, 3 times 1, 2, 3. I'll count them up, John. But the thing about this book for me, at least, is that it felt like at least it was paying tribute to the original Red Sonja, if it wasn't executing the original Red Sonja. And so that was a positive for me. But overall, I think I'd give this book one more issue and see where we're at. Walter Giovanni, though, could drag me through the whole series just with his art alone.
To me, this is the most Red Sonja book we've gotten with the Red Sonja title. There's no other Sonjas. There's no younger version of Sonja. We're back to sword and sorcery fantasy, and it feels like a true Red Sonja book, like when Gail Simone and Walter were doing it. Torrin Gronbeck, I think is the name of the new writer, who used to who did a lot of work with Jonathan Hickman on Thor, stuff like that. She's doing this book. We're not quite seeing where it's going yet. It's laying the groundwork, so we got to see where it's going to go. But this has the feel that I want from a Red Sonja book finally, or again. And there are a lot of covers, but there are some really good covers. If you're a Kevin Eastman fan, there's a Kevin Eastman cover. There's a Mike Mignola cover. They've got Linsner on it. They got Lucio Perillo on it. This is a Shannon Mayer cover. And Brian Hitch is doing covers. Alan Qua. I mean,
literally, to do that many covers, every cover artist in the world has to do a cover, right? It's basically where we're at now.
Well, they also tend to do like, oh, here's a black and white version of that color. Here's an ultraviolet version of the cover. Here's a metal version. So those are probably some repeats, but yeah, they have a lot of really good covers. But yeah, I'm in on this. I'm looking forward to it because that's what I've been wanting from Dynamite is to kind of get back to the roots with Red Sonja. They just announced a new Vampirella series that's going to be written by Sarah Frazetta, and she's going to do a cover for it. And there's going to be a classic Frazetta cover, and that looks really interesting. So I'm hoping this is where they're going, that they put aside a lot of this really complicated, over-the-top storytelling and kind of get back to the roots at what made Red Sonja and Vampirella cool. And I see it here.
Yeah. Do me a favor. Keep this. Don't do any other spinoffs. Don't do any other Red Sonja, Red whatever series. Keep this one. Continue this story. I thought it was great. The art was well done, and for right now, I'm not confused. Sometimes when we read these books, even if they're number ones, there's things that happen that I get lost on. Now, we did grab a number 0 for Free Comic Book Day. I haven't read it. I don't know if it connects to this. I think that's
It does.
It does? Okay.
Yeah, because there's a reference to her being on the run for murdering somebody, and in it says, "See Red Sonja 0."
Gotcha. Okay. But that being said, it's not like I missed a ton not reading that issue. It's just it wasn't necessary to read. But I think this is honestly one of the best Red Sonjas I've read. If you're a Dynamite fan, if you're a Red Sonja fan, pick this up. Like I'm really interested to hear what hardcore fans of Red Sonja think about this. So I really dug it.
Ed asks, this is why publishers start to annoy me. 58 covers, really? And I got to say, I think that the market dictates. If they put out 58 covers and they don't sell worth a damn, then they're not going to keep doing 58 covers. They put out 58 covers and they make good money on 58 covers, then they're going to keep doing 58 covers.
Yeah. And that's where it's sad that it's okay. So there are like 19 different covers that are then replicated over and over and over again. Wait, 20, 21, 22, 23. So, okay, there's about 25 covers for this once I scroll down. And then they're just replicated. The thing that annoys me and the thing where I agree with Ed is just because that makes money doesn't mean it's good for the industry. And there's some responsibility to being good to the industry. But if people didn't buy them, they wouldn't make them. So it's kind of you got to vote with your money on that one. If 58 covers is too many for you, don't buy some. If you're like me and you're looking at this going, God, that's a cool cover, and God, that's a cool cover, and I want to buy 3 or 4 of them, even though I've already read the book, you're kind of in a different boat, right? So, all right, let's move on. Comixology Original Money, number 1.
Sorry, Pink Floyd.
Well, I was just kind of thinking that that first line, money, it's a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't. The way Jay feels about Fish People, I feel about the Illuminati and secret cabal content. We don't need it. Like, it's getting overdone. I did like that these were some relatively known names that they were kind of mimicking or mocking in this. The Medicis and the Rothschilds and some others. Yeah. Which is cool. And I like Kurt Pyers, and his writing is usually really good. But this book starts and ends the same way, and some stuff happens in the middle, and you're not any further along by the time you get to the end of the book than you were on the third page. So to me, the thing about this book is it's great setup. It's Kurt Pyers, but I would have liked to have seen some forward progress. And we don't normally get number 2s from Comixology. So, like, to go and read this, I'm going to have to wait for it to come out from Dark Horse. And who knows when that'll be. So, it's a little frustrating to see a book that has all the things going for it and could be a good Illuminati story and know that, well, you know, you're kind of stuck. So,
You're right that this feels like the type of book we've been getting a lot of lately. You know, these big conspiracy family war things. But I'll tell you the honest truth. This is the first one that I actually cared about anybody in the book. The old man, the head of the Medici family, I liked him, which is really bizarre because, you know, when he talked, the things he said, his meeting with the other family, I just really liked the guy. I liked his nephew, and where, again, this seemed like it should have just been, no thanks. I'm actually curious about this one. This one got my attention, and I would put this on one of the better books this week for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. My first thought though when I was reading this was, hey, Al Pacino made it to a comic book. I thought this was interesting. You know, I'm gonna say this, and I know how it's gonna sound, but the older I get, the more that some conspiracies feel like truth to me. Call me crazy if you will. There's just some things that it just gets me, like, it gets me thinking. This book has left me with a lot of questions in a good way. There's a lot of death, like right in the middle or near the end, rather. And I have so many questions about this. I'm kind of hoping that this isn't going to be a run-of-the-mill apocalypse story. I'm kind of hoping there's more to it than that. But I mean, there's things that are happening in this book that I'm like, maybe there's a little truth. But again, I didn't think it was that bad. I would try to read another issue of this if I can. I'm interested to see where they go with this.
Yeah, I fantasy cast instead of Al Pacino. I had James Caan, but yeah, really anybody who's ever been in a Godfather film could have been the lead of this book.
I like what Bronze is talking about, but I think if this was going to be part of a trilogy, this should be the third part with lawyers and guns being the first two.
Some lawyers, guns, and money.
Feels like more on the Scarface side he's talking about. First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the women.
Then you get shot up in your own office.
Warren Zevon's better.
Yeah. See?
I was hanging with a waitress, like I always do. How was I to know she was with the Russians too? All right, let's do this. We are cruising along here. Let's do this. Dan.
Yes.
Do you know what you're doing the rest of this week on the Dan Wickline program?
Oh, hell no.
That's fair. That's fair.
I do have one thing I'm thinking about doing, and it may change depending on what happens tonight when I'm watching TV. But I think that it might be worth doing a deep dive into a character named Abigail Brand from Marvel.
I think you should do a deep dive into terrible Happy Meal toys.
Lisa's son wants me to do a show about Jurassic Park 3 figures that he collects, so we could just talk and review them.
Hey, it's gonna Dan. For those of you who are watching, just know, be praying for Dan. Like, SAG-AFTRA has taken away like 90% of his content. We love them and we stand in solidarity with them, but Dan's over here not knowing what to do, and we're trying to figure it out. So it's tough.
Yeah, so there will be a show tomorrow.
Perfect time to roll out Crocheting with Dan. Just saying.
Jay, I spent probably 20 minutes trying to sell him on that yesterday.
You should see the hat that Edward sent. If you didn't see it, I'll have to send the picture to you. I want Dan to make that, and I would watch a show of Dan making that.
He didn't send a pattern, though, so I'd have to figure out, but it's possible. Yes, I made that. Yeah.
Yes.
I've got a box of little patterns for making superheroes, and they sent with the material to make a Spider-Man. So,
I'm telling you, Dan just slowly crocheting a Grogu army like on the wall behind him. By the time the strike's over, Dan will have like 900 Grogus in the back.
Yeah, there could be that. There could be a painting show. There might just be an AMA where I'm not covering anything. I'm just answering questions.
It's true. All right, Jason. Sean isn't cool enough to join us.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read his comment. What's happening on Triangle of Truth?
So, Sean's going to be doing a new format with rapid reviews where he's going to take multiple books and give a spoiler-free thing. But also, we've been asked by Alan and Will, the writers of Pocus Hocus, to be on another channel because we were their first fans to hype their book up. They're fixing to do PR for their book Pocus Hocus. It's either dropped in previews or it's fixing to drop in previews. It's a great book. I've been following it since the beginning. I am literally these dudes' first fan, and that's going to be super exciting. I think that's happening tomorrow sometime, but super excited to do that. Super nervous at the same time because, it's not work related, and I'm you get how rambly I get on here sometimes. So it should be a lot of fun, though. It should be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for the world to get to read Pocus Hocus.
Then Monday night on Devil's Advocates, Bronze and I will be doing Comic Book Mythbusters, where we have to build the Marvel Cinematic Universe out of duct tape and then run it over with a car. And then we blow some stuff up and claim it's science. Yeah, I don't know what we're talking about. It's called Comic Book Mythbusters, and Bronze is coming up with the myths we need to bust. So we'll be talking about that on Monday. And then be watching for a new show. Nerd News Now is back, now at a new time. What will be Monday mornings at 10:30 in the morning. 10:30 Eastern. So I am Jamie, in case anyone was wondering. That makes Jay Grant Imahara, which I'm good with. Well, not that you're dead, but like
I miss Grant.
We need a third wheel who could be one of the top guys.
I know, but I miss Grant. Grant was I love watching
It's
Grant
true.
on Mythbuster.
It's true, but no. So
You want to borrow my hat so you can be Jamie?
no. I will do the mustache though, at some point. No. So Mondays at 10:30 a.m. is Nerd News Now. And
Obviously Bronze.
Bronze, you're the other guy. You're anyway.
He's Carrie.
No, he's not. He doesn't have the legs for it. I saw that Maxim spread. No, I've lost my train of thought so many times. Nerd News Now. Mondays, 10:30. Me, Jen, and this week Corey De La Guardia of Nerd Thug Radio. Sometimes it's Brainy, sometimes it'll be Jay. It's a new format at a new time. exclusively on the Experiences YouTube. And that is brought to you in part by Space Cadets Clash Collection and the Adventure Begins Comics and Games.
Who's the third person on the show?
It's a revolving door.
Yeah, but who's it
Sometimes
this week?
it's Jay, sometimes it's Brainy. This week it's Corey De La Guardia of Nerd Thug Radio.
Any relation to the airport?
Should I ask Corey if he's related to Theorella LaGuardia? Is that what you want me to do?
Yeah.
Okay, did you know that his first name was Theorello?
I didn't know it was named after a person, so
I knew it after you said it. It's
Okay.
like, oh yeah, it clicked. But I wouldn't have been able to pull it, no.
I always have Guys and Dolls era New York memories just ready to go. They're at the front of my obscure reference. If Damon Runyon would have wrote about him, I have it in the front of my brain. All right.
Good to know.
All right. Let's get back to it. Power Rangers Unlimited Hyperforce.
Go Power Rangers.
I'll go ahead and go first if nobody else wants to. I could hear the record scratch on the first page. You're probably wondering how I got here.
Right.
Good Lord. Look, for me, this was okay closer to the end of the book. I was so confused, though, for most of it. I mean, I know basic, regular, old, first-generation Power Ranger stuff. Anything that's newer, no clue. I felt that there was stuff you had to know about the Hyperforce to understand what's going on. Like there's time travel, there's broken time streams. I feel like there's a good story in here. It's just buried somewhere in this book. It's buried in there. If you're a Power Rangers fan, maybe this one will be for you. But to me, it was just okay.
I have lots of questions. First thing, if you're designing uniforms for the Power Rangers, and one of them is the Black Ranger, why do you make black a predominant color in the uniform? Because then he just becomes all black, or she in this case. Seems like a bad design. I know zero about Power Rangers. I know more people who worked on the show than I know about the people, about the show itself or the characters. That said, could have cared less about the story, but I thought the art was actually pretty good.
Okay, yeah.
It was surprising because they've had some hit or miss on art. Like when the Freddie H. Williams was doing the book, it was awesome. But most of the time it's like, eh. But this I really liked. So I looked at all the pictures. And I liked how it looked. But I really could have cared less about the story.
I want to use my time when I would be talking about this book to talk about how the fact that David Fielding, who played Zordon, was paid less than $1,000 to be on Power Rangers. He was paid $150 per episode for a few seasons to be Zordon. And, oh, by the way, they only recorded him one day. The rest of that was done through green screen effects and voice or face over and all kinds of things. So he didn't actually do that much work. And he quit his job to make less than $1,000 over 3 seasons. The shine is off the apple on the Power Rangers for me. I loved the Power Rangers as a little kid. And the more I learn about Power Rangers, the less I want anything to do with Power Rangers. Which is kind of a hard spot to live in as a fan of things. This story did nothing for me. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. I nothinged it, which is probably worse than me hating it. Because it didn't grab me. It didn't convince me to keep reading. if you're into Power Rangers Hyperforce, or you're into the later direct to DVD era Power Ranger stuff, it's probably right up your alley. But if you're looking for Amy Jo Johnson and the original Power Rangers cast to have any kind of roots in this, you're going to be disappointed. It just was, it was a weird place to live, and it wasn't for me.
Yeah, can't see it. That's me standing with Zordon.
Who I'm told is a great guy.
Oh yeah, he was super nice. We were actually this was after a convention. We were standing there waiting to get dinner. So he was just happened to be in line, and we started chatting with him.
Yeah. I envy that, Dan. Like I would like to meet him. It was great. He was one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
All right, you've been canceled, number 2.
I forgot to read it.
It's okay.
But I didn't like the first one, so.
Jay?
I like this one. I like the little twist on who hacked the show. I thought the weird cameo parody was kind of funny. I don't know if those two gave permission for that or if they were just making fun of them, but I thought it was funny. The story did get moved forward a bit, and for me, it stopped in a spot that still keeps my interest. Like I want to know what happens next, but I will say, when they drop some of these flashbacks in here, my first thought is, I wish they'd either do a prequel comic so we could read some of these stories to kind of get a real feel for what the problem is between these folks, or at least have one of these issues just be a whole flashback issue. I want a bit more from this book, but I can't really find the words to what I want is the problem. Like, I know there's something that I want from this book. I just don't know exactly.
Would it be for the main character to have a chin?
Oh, no. But this is one of those, like, I want to see Roland in his prime. You know, I want to see what makes, because I mean, we see him fighting people in this, but I want to know what he did to raise him in the ranking, to make him this, like, the GOAT of this show. I mean, I dig it so far. I need a little bit more.
How many Kurt Pyers books are out this week?
2 or 3.
Might be 4.
Yeah, it might be.
I think Comicsology had 3.
Yeah. So the thing with issue 2 of You've Been Canceled is that it feels almost as though it's written at a different voice than the first one. All of a sudden it slows down. The first one is sort of a balls to the wall kind of thing, and this one slows it down and kind of grounds it a little. And that's not a bad thing. It's just something that I wasn't expecting. So it took me aback a little bit. Like Jay said, the twist is great. And the cameos are fun. But I'm losing some of that The Running Man that made the first issue so interesting. And if it picks up in the third issue, that would be fine. So I think this is one of those issues that you're not going to know if it's good or not until you're further down the line. But this issue was certainly a story. There's some stuff in it some gratuity that I don't think it needed. There's some other things that I'm like, if I were writing this, I wouldn't put in it. I would put in some action. But overall, I think it keeps things moving forward in a way that they actually would, rather than leaning on what happened in the first issue where things aren't exactly super realistic. I don't know any other way to describe it than that. So overall, I'm with Jay. I'll keep reading it, but I'm closer now aligned to where Dan was after the first issue than I was previous. So, all right.
One of these days, I'm going to go through all these shows and I'm going to find every Dan moment I can and just make GIFs of all of it. Because there's the Running Man he just did. There's the one about Madison that he did on his show. Not where you think. Like, Dan has so many
Puppet
GIFable
Kyle.
moments. Puppet Kyle. Dan has so many GIFable moments. I need to find him and make GIFs of everything.
It's true.
Following chat, by the way, guys. Battle of the Planets. That's definitely the best.
Yeah, I've been trying to follow it, but like Macross is the only answer. Okay, so here at The Experience, it's really important to us that you visit your local comic shop. If you don't know where your local comic shop is, or you don't know where there's a local comic shop close by to you, head over to comicshoplocator.com and type in the area code where you are, zip code where you are, whatever. You know what to do. And it'll tell you where there are comic shops nearby to you. I'm traveling this weekend, so I put the area where I was going into Comic Shop Locator and found out there are no comic shops within 30 miles of where I'm going. So I'm going to stop at the ones that are 30 miles away and visit those. So super fun there. If you're heading to San Diego Comic-Con, wash your hands, all that kind of stuff. We will be back next week with more books. And hopefully more stuff we like, including I know Victory #2 is out next week and a few others. So we will check those out next week. We will see everybody next time on In Stores This Week.